In this video today, I'm going to show you guys how to assemble this TREKCAR 4x4 off-road truck. So stay tuned. Alright, so the first thing that I do is I use the box that was shipped in to help me prop up the car so it's easier to work on. Also, I like to lay out all my parts just to see what I have so it's easier to find. So here's the remote, keys, charger, the hardware that it comes with. The hardware also includes two of these tools that we're going to be using for assembly, as well as adjustable wrench or an 8mm socket wrench and a Phillips screwdriver. So for shipping purposes, the whole steering mechanism is inverted, so we're gonna have to go ahead and flip that, and it's fairly easy. Using the adjustable wrench, you'll find that there's a little bolt and nut right here, Phillips on the other side. Loosen it up, slide it out. And all we're doing is we're bringing this piece over to this side. And then we need to get that through the steering gear. Get that in there so it's hooked on. And bring the other one around. Reinstall the nut and the bolt. Bolt goes in from the top. And we're ready to install the gearboxes with the motors. So you have two different right motors. One is the front, one is the rear. One of them has a heat shield on it, the other one does not. For the front, we're gonna install the one with the heat shield. The way you install the gearbox in the front is the motor is gonna be facing towards the rear of the vehicle. These are labeled, so the right one goes on the right side, the left one goes on the left side. So there is a square cutout, and that's going to slide onto this little square metal piece on here. We're going to go ahead and slide it on the shaft, motor facing towards the rear. Slide it onto that square plate. We're going to go ahead and connect the connector, locking it into place. And the same thing on the other side. Connect the motor. Once you're done, it should look something like this. All right, now we're gonna move on to installing the front wheels. And you're gonna need two washers and two lock nuts included in your hardware. Gonna take the gear part and slide it into the gear. I install the washer and a nylon lock nut. And I'm going to use the included tool to go ahead and tighten it. Do the same thing on the other side. Install the wheel. Install the washer. And the nylon lock nut. Now we're at the back of the car and we're going to locate the rear axle. We're going to remove the nylon nuts and we're going to slide the axle through the red little tabs in the back. Next, we're going to install the gearboxes on the back of the axle. Once again, we're using the ones that don't have a heat shield. And the left one goes on the left side, the right one goes on the right side. Gonna slide the gear onto the axle and slide the motor inside the opening here. Same thing on this side. Just like that. The next part is to install the back wheels, and it's pretty much like the front. Slide it onto the axle, into the gear. Same thing on the other side. We're going to install the washer, the previously removed nylon nut, and we're just going to hand tighten this temporarily. Once you get one side done, make sure you push it all the way in so that the other side has enough threads for the nut. So there's a reason why they include two of these tools, so you can use both of them at the same time to tighten the wheels onto the axle from both sides. Last step is to install these wheel covers on the front and back. There is a tab that sticks out a little further than the rest of them, and we're going to line that up and just snap these in. Once we're done with the wheels, we're going to flip the shiny side up. Now on the inside, we are going to find the motor connectors. Go ahead and install the plugs to the motors, and they just clip in. Also, these little plugs for the lights, sometimes they do unplug during shipping. All you have to do is just go ahead and plug it back in. They can only plug in one way. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to install this cross brace in the back, and they just go into those open slots. And install 2 Phillips screws included in your hardware. Next, we're going to install the seat support and install 8 of these screws included in the hardware. Next step is to install the tailgate cover. And secure it with 2 screws. Next, we're gonna install the roll bar support, and one of them does have a run-through wire that we're gonna use. The one without the wire on the other side. Then we're gonna install the light bar, plugging in that connector right over here. Next step is we're going to install the steering wheel, and there is a plug for it. We're going to go ahead and clip that in. Slide the connector inside the steering wheel. Now one side of the steering column has a little indentation for a nut. Go ahead and put that in and slide this on the steering shaft. On the other side of the steering wheel, we're going to line it up with a hole. Put this long bolt through it. Now holding the other side, making sure that that nut doesn't come out, we're going to go ahead and tighten this with a Phillips screwdriver. The next step, we could go ahead and install the windshield. On each side here, it also has holes for screws. So underneath the hood, before we install the seat, we want to make sure that everything's working correctly. What we're going to do is locate the plugs and just go ahead and plug them in. Using the key, we're going to go ahead and turn it on. What I typically check for is to make sure the lights are plugged in and working correctly. Both of the taillights are working correctly. The headlights and fog lights are working. I'm going to put it in forward and just make sure all four wheels are spinning in the right direction. Now, for some reason, if some of your wheels are spinning in the wrong direction, chances are you might have installed the gearboxes on the wrong side. So what you would have to do is go back in the process, remove either the front or the back wheels, and swap the gearboxes from one side to the other. So now that we know that everything's working correctly, we could go ahead and install the seat. The way that the seat gets shipped is the harness is already connected to it. We're going to slide these tabs through here, and we're going to install the seat, making sure that we get the tabs in the back as well. And we're going to use 2 screws through the seat on the sides to fasten the seat in. Next up, to clip in the side view mirrors. Next up, we're going to install the batteries on the remote. Two AAA batteries. Now in this case, the remote is not linked to the car, so what we're going to do is press and hold this button right here in the middle, and that should link it up. Here on the remote, you have your forward, reverse, your left, right. You have your pause button, which basically locks the car out so your kid cannot drive it. If they come up to a street or something like that, if you want to shut them down, press the button. It'll basically cut everything off in the car so they can't drive it. Once you release the park, you can use the remote and the child can drive the car. Here on the steering wheel, you have a button for music to select some preloaded music in here. The other one is the horn. So the red switch is for the lights. The green one is the speed selector, and the big one is either forward, stop, or back. If you're using the remote does override this. On the other side, you do have a 2-wheel, 4-wheel drive selector. And on this side, you do have your little radio. And you could also plug in a USB stick with your own music. Before you take it out for the first time, make sure to charge it up completely. This is the charger with a charge indicator. The red light means it's still charging. The green light means ready to go. Charging port is right here under the hood, and it does cut all power to the car while you are charging it. Once you have it all charged up, make sure to familiarize yourself with the remote control. And you are all ready to go. I want to thank you guys for watching. Now get out there and have some fun. Later.